So welcome to Game Development for STEMinism. And so this is actually brought to you by Women in Games. You guys might know me as the founder of Empowering AI, and you guys might know me as the lead organizer, but right now I am the Women in Games ambassador. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Women in Games program. I'm going to talk a little bit about game development, and I'm also going to talk about STEMinism. So if you guys don't know exactly what STEMinism means, it's what we're doing here today in Empower Hacks. We're empowering women in STEM, so it's kind of self-explanatory, but so today we're going to learn about ways that you can make an impact through fun. So let's just look a little bit at our agenda. We're going to be learning about game development and women, the complicated history. Then we can talk about my game, which is Synthoria, and you guys will get to play this game and kind of learn about what my process was like making it and why I made it certain ways, and kind of tips for you as well. We're also going to talk about how to think like a STEMinist, and this is going to be kind of like a step-by-step thing, and and then lastly, we're just going to talk about women in games and how you can become an ambassador, what it means to be an ambassador, things like that. So, how many of you guys are gamers? You guys can do the thumbs up. Okay, so a lot of you guys are gamers, right? Anybody here a gamer girl? Okay, looks like there's a lot of you guys. So I think you guys might have noticed how I said gamer girls. And really, there is a reason why I did that. So the gamer girl term, it's taken such a negative connotation in recent years, such that the gaming community often depicts this term as overly sexualized or, really weird. They make it really taboo, and, girl gamers are kind of looked at strangely. And this is not just in terms of esports and game development and kind of just in the industry itself. It's just the video games themselves. Like, if you've ever played Fortnite, Valorant, if you've ever played, I don't know, there's like tons of games out there that depict women in such a negative light and kind of perpetuate stereotypes, and that's really why gamer girls are so frowned upon, and not exactly frowned upon, but they're given this strange title, which a lot of you guys are just trying to play a game, but you just want to be a gamer, but you're called a gamer girl in a weird way. So let's learn a little bit more about how people have thought this. So specifically, I'm going to be talking about my game, Synthoria. And so this is a game that I developed starting from my freshman year of high school. I'm currently a rising senior, so it took me around like 2 to 3 years to make this, so it was a bit of a journey. But it's basically about two women in STEM. It's about two girls, Sana and Yasmin. This one right here is Sana, and this one's Yasmin. And they're kind of like, so Yasmin is older, she goes to university, and Sana's a small little girl. And as a indicator, they're both Muslim and they're both Indian, and that's also something that I identify with. They're also women, so they're actually the protagonists of this game. And so they live in this place called Synthoria, and Synthoria is basically ruled by this random robot guy who almost does everything, which is over here. And this picture's a little bit weird out of context, but it's a really fun game, if I do say so myself. And basically they see this robot going rogue and, just kind of causing chaos, like making animals like get scared, and then ruining a garden. Like, there's tons of like things that go wrong, but then you're able to solve all these bad things that are happening just through mini games, which you can learn stuff like classification models, like the one here, and then you can learn other topics in machine learning, like neural networks and regression models, which you could learn later on today in another workshop. Um, but yeah, so basically you're learning machine learning, and you're playing a game, and it's all fun. But I wanted to point out what this meant for female representation. So for the first time, we see Sana and Yasmin. They're such unique characters. They're the protagonists. They're the ones fighting the rogue robot. They're the ones who are, like solving all this crime and kind of fighting this AI. And many times in games we don't see this. We see women acting as the side characters, or always being known for their looks, and always, not being appreciated for their own character. So that's really what I wanted to do with Synthoria, is kind of like change this narrative that, these female characters, they need to be cute, they need to be pretty. I see you have a question. So the name Synthoria, it's actually, I wanted to create like a name that really kind of said what it is, because the robot is basically in charge of doing everything from like making sure the plants are fine, making sure all the building projects are going right, making sure the studies are correct. And so I use like the word synth, and that's like to create, and usually like computer generated stuff like that. And then like I just add the Oreo for like, it sounds like a kingdom a little bit. So that's kind of where Synthoria came from. But yeah, it was kind of random. But yeah, and that's kind of like my story, and like having like Synthoria out there and having like the different characters. But yeah, that's just like how I contributed to STEMinism with a game. But let's just move on and see how you can think like a STEMinist. So here are 4 different questions you should be asking yourself. So many times, so also this is for game developers. When you're developing a game, you oftentimes have to create a narrative. So here's the first point. Are you accurately depicting women? So don't base your accuracy based off of stereotypes. Oftentimes in games, the stereotypes can accurately depict women to be, more visually appealing, or, kind of something that's a bit of a stereotype. And so a lot of the times, game developers, which are predominantly men, and I know this because only 22% of game developers are women, oftentimes they don't have the perspectives that women do, and we don't know, because we know what it's actually like to be a woman, and we know what's accurately depicting us. But a lot of game developers don't know that. And so the big thing is to avoid falling victim to stereotypes, and really like asking like women and just like knowing if you're accurately depicting something. And so another huge thing is when you're making a game, you want to ask, am I basing the character's personality on their gender? Like, if you were to change the character to someone who's not a female, would it make sense? And do you think that your character, like a large part of the character's personality is them being a girl? And that's probably going on the wrong direction, because if all your character is just a girl, is really going to be inaccurate, because there's lots of more detail that goes into character development than just having them be a girl. And yeah, so the last 2 are pretty important. So this one's a bit similar to the first one, but does your depiction of your character, is that having a negative impact on a woman's image? So for example, there's a lot of cartoons and video games that show women in bad situations, maybe show them to be bad characters. And obviously you can have female characters, female villains, but is this really like harmful to the female community? Is it like changing the way people see women, because I know games have that impact. Games certainly do have that impact. They can change people's views on anything, to be honest. For example, I started getting scared of pizza shops after playing Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, so I think games are really important to narrative, and it really does impact how people actually think. So that's really important to keep in mind if you're developing a game. And then the last thing is really important. So you want to make sure that you're actually positively contributing to the narrative of women in games. So you might, I said before, you might fall victim to stereotypes, which, you know what, it's natural, but you want to contribute to things that show women in ways that they want to be represented. Show women that are actually accurate to women that exist in your life. Maybe you could have a character, based off of someone that you know, maybe like even yourself. I kind of based my character Sana off of my younger self, who was like really curious, and very extroverted. So I really did base that off myself. And then Yasmin's a lot like my sister. So I think it's really valuable to like definitely mention like people that you know, and just kind of thinking about that. That's really important. But that's really how you could think of a STEMinist when you're writing a character. And just most important, like the whole thing that you want to take away from this is that you don't want to fall victim to stereotypes. You want to create an actual character, not just based off of the gender. Those are the two main things you need to take away from game development and stereotypes and becoming a STEMinist. So next I can talk a little bit about the ambassador program, but I'm happy to take any questions regarding game development, because I know I didn't really talk a little bit that much about game development industry as a whole, but I'm really happy to answer any questions, as I've been developing games for a really long time, and I'm really happy to help anyone who has any questions about that. But with that being said, if no one has any questions currently, I could talk a little bit about the ambassador program. Okay. So someone asked, what coding language does game development involve, and what platform can they do game development in? So there's actually a lot of programs and coding languages that you can use. But with my game Synthoria, I used Unity, and I coded in C#. So Unity is like, it's free for anyone. It does have like a little logo before your game, but it doesn't really matter. And C#, in my opinion, is not too hard, and there's so many tutorials on YouTube that you can take advantage of. I basically learned everything from YouTube. I have never taken any course or anything. But yeah, I'm really interested in game development, and that's kind of where I started. But I would recommend, if you are a beginner, there is a platform called Godot. It's really beginner friendly, and if you're new to the whole industry, it's gonna be so helpful for you. Really loved using that. That's actually originally where I was coding Synthoria, but then I kind of felt like I needed to level up, I guess, and then have access to more assets. But yeah, this is like a great place to start, Godot. And then I think, I know no one asked this, but I think the hardest part of game development has been kind of the art. I'm not an artsy person at all, and if you've seen any of the Instagram graphics, I probably used like a template or something, so I'm not too creatively blessed, but I was able to create the game art for this game all by myself, and honestly it's probably like the only art I've ever done, so that's kind of interesting, because yeah, and I think that's kind of it that I have for like my development process for Synthoria. It did take me a while, and I definitely did have to do a lot of research, because you had to learn about machine learning, which I'm teaching in the game, and then I also had to learn about how to code the game, like actually. But I think I definitely recommend more people to get into the industry, especially if you're a woman, because there's really like a grand total of like 3 of us in the entire industry. Not actually, but like there's such a small amount considering like 50% of gamers are women and like only like 22% maybe at best are game developers. And so it's really, really interesting to see that kind of gap. So I really hope you guys are able to help me closing that gap. But yeah, I think if no one else has any questions, I'm fine to move forward to the ambassador program. So I don't really have to go over the 3 different ambassador programs because most likely you're only going to apply for the individual ambassador program if you are interested in becoming an ambassador for women in games. And just as a clarification, this is not just closed for women. It should be available to anyone, like allies, anyone who is part of this hackathon is completely eligible to apply. I believe I'm like the youngest ambassador, but I think anyone's eligible to apply. But yeah, basically, there's tons of stuff that we do. We have tons of events, such as career development and networking expos, annual conferences, creative leadership labs, the global awards. There's gonna be guides for building a fair playing field. And there's also like a monthly newsletter, and you could honestly get featured on the newsletter, and that would be big for your projects. I've personally gotten like an award for Synthoria because I was able to apply to lots of inclusivity awards that have been distributed by Women in Games. So if you want to become an award-winning game developer, I definitely suggest becoming an ambassador for this, no matter what your gender is, no matter anything. Really, it's an amazing opportunity, and I definitely suggest doing so. But you can apply anytime and join the Discord and everything, and they'll help you really like set that up. And yeah. Does anyone have any questions about Synthoria or like the Women in Games Ambassador Program, or really anything related to game development in general? Like, I'd be happy to answer. And yeah, that's about it for me. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.